Joining us now to review some headlines in today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Mr. Efeni. How are you?
Good morning, Leila. Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
You ended that segment on a bright note. Old woman who survived COVID-19 over 104 years.
104 years.
Yes. And she also survived the Spanish influenza.
The Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Yes, that
1918.
killed over 50 million people worldwide. Yes, she's a survivor any day. Now, let's look at today's newspaper, starting with this day. The lead story, with tumbling oil price, Nigeria may turn inward for market, opens opportunities for local refineries, industries. Fuels need to stop Nigeria's crude exports. Analysts ask policymakers to target non-oil revenue. Then, of course, there's an analysis above that story, how Nigeria can leverage on negative oil price. As of today, or in the last 24 hours, Nigeria's Bonny Light has been trading around $14 per barrel. And that is quite serious for the economy we run today. But this story is talking of what we can do going forward, looking inwards. Refineries locally to now refine more. But do we have capacity, existing capacity of our refineries? Can Dangote refinery be accelerated to take care of this situation and other smaller refineries that are in the works around the country? These are the challenges. Of course, in terms of opportunities, we've always known opportunities. But do we take these opportunities? That is part of the problem. We've been exporting crude oil all along, importing refined products. Whereas if we refine our crude oil at home, logically, you can make over $200 from a barrel of crude. These are the challenges. But can we take these opportunities? Or we go back to our normal ways of doing things once things normalize?
Well, a combination of COVID-19 and the oil price war and the crash of oil prices has exposed the vulnerability of Nigeria, has exposed the risks involved in our import-dependent and monocultural economy.
Yeah.
You were referring to Bonny Light. Well, Bonny Light is not necessarily the benchmark. It's Brent crude.
Brent crude, yes.
Yes, and Brent crude is down to about $19. Now, when the federal government reviewed the 2020 budget, the benchmark was changed to $30. Now, with oil prices around, $19 and no prospect of an immediate, increase, then it means, of course, that the entire 2020 budget has been turned adrift.
Yeah.
And that was why in the news analysis done on the front page by Njoma Wogugu, she was saying that clearly it's a no-brainer. We have to take a second look at the benchmark of the 2020 budget. Now, another analysis that I've read says Nigeria is in a calamitous, precarious situation, that if we're not careful, we're heading the way of Venezuela or we're heading the way of Zimbabwe. And you know the situation in Venezuela and Zimbabwe. In both countries, inflation rose through the roof. Public infrastructure collapsed. Political instability ensued. And that is why I think right now, in the face of this crisis, that we do not know when it will end or how it will end, we need to move faster to address issues. Now, let me address some of the things you brought up. Open opportunities for local refineries and industries.
Yes.
Well, I mean, one of the ironic situations we have in Nigeria is that we produce crude oil, but we then take our crude oil abroad
out of the country
to go and to sell, and others will refine. Then we go and buy.
And then subsidize.
And bring it back here and subsidize it and waste enormous resource because of our own inefficiency. Everybody keeps referring to Dangote refinery. Good idea. But the thing, of course, as I said earlier, is that we need to take a second look at NNPC. NNPC needs to shed weight.
Exactly.
It cannot be doing everything and be doing everything inefficiently.
Yeah.
Now, refining of petroleum products is one of those things that NNPC can get out of very quickly. Now, one of the most successful businesses Nigeria has engaged in is the Nigeria LNG.
Yes.
The Nigerian LNG is probably, the most successful of its type in the whole of Africa. And it's been very efficient. It's been a source of good revenue for us. We don't even spend much. We just get, a commission. Is it possible that the same kind of formula that was used for setting up the Nigeria LNG,
yes.
in fact, those partners in Nigeria LNG, why don't we hand over Nigerian refineries to them to manage so that we can produce refined product more efficiently here in Nigeria?
Yes, where the oil companies own 51%, and the federal government 49%, which makes us
that 49 for doing nothing.
Yes.
Then you have the joint venture partnership agreements, the joint ventures. We need to take a second look at that. That's one of the things, the analyst in this day was pointing out. And then, if anything, we have seen that we need to diversify this economy. We need to take diversification more seriously. Not as rhetoric. We will invest in agriculture. No. We will do this in agriculture. It's something urgent that Nigeria has to worry about. Not just federal government, as our guest pointed out, also at the state level.
Yes.
So this is a situation, and for many years we've been talking about thinking beyond oil.
Yes.
Right? Now is the time we have to start thinking
beyond oil.
Everything written here, we have always known.
Yes.
But the political will to do the needful has always been the bane of our country.
But implementation at this point is a must. I mean, what other direction can Nigeria go into? I mean, there's so many occasions on which we can ask which way Nigeria. At this point, we are stuck. We don't have options. We are only going to be forced to do certain things. If the government doesn't want to, like Doctor said, we'll end up being a Venezuela, we'll end up being a Zimbabwe or Zambia, like the analysts are saying, and we cannot become that.
There was effort to privatize the refineries. What happened?
Exactly, so down the drain.
What makes you think the government of the day will
NNPC itself should be privatized?
Yeah. What makes you think the government of the day will be willing and ready to privatize?
It's not about willingness and readiness. It's about the fact that we're finding ourselves in a unique situation. And for the first time, they are actually going to have to be forced to do certain things that they may not have wanted to.
Can they summon the political will to do this? Or we'll be scavenging for solutions elsewhere?
Their political will to the side. If they don't want to gather the political will to do it, we will end up being another Venezuela. It's that simple.
Oftentimes, we don't take the right steps. We wait till the worst happens.
Yeah.
And then we'll start running helter-skelter to fix it. In Nigeria, the standard thing is, it can't happen here. It can't happen here until it happens.
Exactly. So we can wait for it to happen, but we will end up being another Venezuela.
The Nigerian nation is more resilient than the Venezuelans and the Zimbabwe's.
Forbes wrote about this last year before the pandemic even broke out. Now we want to question it with the pandemic. We are going down that road, and unless we actually do something about it, we will end up being there.
So let's hope we are all ready. Private sector, they're already doing their part. The federal government, the state government, we are already, we can also summon the political will to do the right thing, which we have always known. It's not rocket science that we are just discovering. So let's move on to other subjects, Ruben. The Punch newspaper, yes. COVID-19, Kanu surge, worries federal government, Ganduje begs for help. Multiple burials, relative attributes deaths to malaria-related ailments. Two Lagos patients die, Sokoto NMH chair, another WHO worker test positive. Now, the case in Kanu, quite worrisome. Kanu with a huge population, COVID-19 treated with levity at the onset in Kanu. The Kanu state governor was one of the northern governors that said that they were not going to lock down their states because it is not feasible to do so. Now, reality check with the surge in number, with mysterious deaths not confirmed whether they are COVID-19 related. Of course, they are saying they died of malaria. The symptoms of malaria also manifest with the victims of COVID-19. So the Kanu case, the NCDC needs to move fast to Kanu, because if this spike continue with some of the kind of attitude we are seeing, a football match was organized in Kanu sometime last week. They even called it Corona Cup. And there was everything that runs against the protocol of social and physical distance.
At a time when all sporting events worldwide have been put on hold.
Lack of education.
So a group of Nigerians are organizing a Corona Cup tournament.
Lack of education at all levels
and if you see that video,
society.
you see the crowd. They were all jam-packed together and hailing football artistry at the expense
in a state that has a government.
But no,
so
this is the thing.
Now the governor is crying for help. Help should be given to Kanu. All hands should be on deck. The private sector initiative.
I mentioned that.
Yes, that they will be building one of the centers in Kanu. Now I think that has to be done very swiftly.
They may need to build more than one center
Yes,
in
at least
Kano
let them get one
rate.
ready first.
Because really and truly, the honest truth is what we're seeing here is that Kano State is of a huge threat to the whole of Nigeria right now. And it comes down to poor handling, poor briefing, and several other factors that really and truly have to be investigated. First of all, the death of over 180 people in the space of 4 days has to be investigated. At the end of the day, certain things are a no-brainer, but let's get proof until we see what we have to see. Protocol, etc., especially leading up to Ramadan, there are things that have to be put into place. This is not a joke. Kano is posing a huge threat right now, even though Lagos is the epicenter, and it's because it doesn't seem as though there's any sort of a hold on the handling of things in the states at all right now.
Yeah. Well, talking about Ramadan and all the protocol that need to be in place, I think the Muslim ulama, they are not sitting idle. They're already working on that. The Vanguard newspaper, Ramadan, Sultan suspends lectures, prayers in mosque. Asks Muslim faithful to use internet for Tarawih and Tafsir. Lagos records 59 cases as confirmed cases rise to 782. Yes, if you read that story, the Sultan of Sokoto has given clear directives that there should be no gathering where people hold Ramadan lectures and all that. They should use internet and ICT do that and reach out to their followers.
That's the Sultan. The Sultan is the head of the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria. But I said the federal government should go a step further. But let's take a short break. When we return, we'll comment on that further. We'll be right back. Stay with us. It's still the morning show. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Still with us in the studio is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, who has been reviewing some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world. Yes, Emmanuel Efeni, before we went on break.
Yes, we're looking at the Vanguard newspaper where the Sultan of Sokoto, the Ramadan, Sultan suspends lectures, prayers in mosque. And apart from the Sultan making that pronouncement, the Muslim ulama had also come out with its directive on that after the General Purpose Committee of the Jamaatul Nasr Islam also met to review the situation. And I think those guidelines are clear that people should not hold the usual Ramadan lectures. They've been advised to use ICT. Where they don't have experts, they should get experts to help them put that in place so that they can reach out to the Muslim congregation through internet. No congregating as they do regularly during Ramadan. But there was something you also mentioned, people wanted to break their fast together as they usually do, friends gathering. This is not time for that. Break your fast in your home, and perhaps you can just even use Zoom. While I'm breaking here, relating with you, if you want to at least be face-to-face one way or the other. So I think it's a good thing that the Sultan of Sokoto has given that clear directive.
Well, the Sultan of Sokoto is the head of the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria. So he has also asked that the Muslim community should look out for the moon. And he has made this enlightened intervention because of his own access to information and knowledge. But I said earlier that even in spite of this, this does not go far enough. The Nigerian government itself, maybe through the instrumentality of the Presidential Task Force, should as government take ownership and give a set of guidelines. Now, those guidelines may be announced by the federal government, after consultation with the Muslim community. and then government takes ownership of it, and then we cascade it all the way down all the states. Because a statement by the Sultan appearing on the front pages of some newspapers may not be adequate enough.
Yeah.
No.
And instead of saying we should use the mosques should use the internet, how many mosques do you know that have access to the internet? Okay, these are unusual times.
It's not rocket science.
I will have preferred a situation whereby
one laptop and
just hold on, whereby prayers, the relevant prayers,
yes,
could be conducted on radio. Radio is the most democratic of all the forms for communication, and it can reach everybody in every nook and cranny. And the guidelines that they will come up with, should be communicated heavily, because Ramadan may start tomorrow, may start in 2 days' time.
Well, you see why I prefer this coming first, because if the government has started by giving these guidelines, some people will tell you that you cannot regulate our religion. But the leader of Muslims in Nigeria...
It doesn't matter if they...
Government is not regulating religion.
People say all kinds of things.
Government is advising people, or is giving instructions
regulating
on COVID-19.
Yes. Did somebody not open his church last week in Abuja?
Yeah. Did they not go there to close down the church?
Exactly. But what I'm saying that now they are
hearing... those people should have been flogged.
Yeah.
Now they are hearing from the leader of the Muslims in Nigeria. So it's not government dictating how they should practice their religion.
Yeah, but this is...
But government should add its voice.
No, but this is the issue, because this is exactly why we have such a big problem with religion in Nigeria. The fact that, I'm sorry to say, when it comes to you as a citizen, the voice of your government is not amplified by the voice of your religious leader. It does not work that way, and it should not work that way.
But we must look at the peculiarities of Nigeria.
We must question, it's not peculiar,
how Nigeria practice their religion.
It is wrongful orientation that needs to be addressed, and we have to start doing so now. You have to be able to listen to your government over your religious leader. That's not the way to live life.
We'll do that over time.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. We start addressing it from now, not giving excuses for it. There's a difference. We can't be giving excuses for it.
Anyway, the Sultan...
People should just not engage in any kind of, conduct that will place them at risk. I quoted the figures in Kano earlier. April 11, just one case. By Monday this week, the number had jumped to 59.
Thank you.
By 11:52 p.m. yesterday, that number had jumped to 73. We don't know what the figures will be tomorrow.
Yes.
So people should just be properly advised in their own interest.
And listen to their government.
Well, but they've not heard from the government.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is when you
religious leader for coming forward, even before the government. When you
do hear from your government, listen to your government.
You've not heard from your government.
I said when you
24 hours to Ramadan.
My words were very clear, Mr. Efeni. I said when you do.
The Sultan was being proactive, even before.
No problems.
Yes.
Nobody is arguing that.
But there will be an enforcement side.
Exactly.
The government should enforce it.
The Sultan
exactly.
They are taking the initiative.
That's exactly.
The government is still slumbering over this matter.
He's a religious leader, but if government lends support and takes ownership of this process, then government is in a position to enforce it.
Exactly. We don't have to say that
if you gather anywhere, there will be consequences.
Yeah, we don't need a religious leader before you listen to enforcements. It comes from government whenever it does.
Okay, let's hope government will do the needful. Now, let's go to the Daily Independent newspaper. Federal coronavirus latest. Federal government deploys 23 rapid response teams to state. Okay, sending medical materials, consumables to them. Warns against uncertified coronavirus vaccine in Kano. Lagos discharges 9 more patients, records 2 deaths, increases hazard allowance of health workers to 25,000 naira. Abia shuts 2 hospitals that treated virus patients. Police threaten to seal Abuja motor parks, seize vehicles. Now, okay, what we did not, the so-called vaccine being circulated in Kano. When the Minister of Information was talking about, I wasn't impressed the way he was talking about it glibly. What we ought to be hearing is that several persons have been arrested, apprehended for selling what they called vaccine in Kano. There is no vaccine that is being used anywhere in the world. Clinical trials, human trial will start today in England, tomorrow in England. So where did this fellow get it? They should have been arrested, so they will be paraded. That's what we want to hear. Not the minister just talking as if, don't buy it, it is not genuine,
You should be warned.
No.
It's becoming so tiring.
So you see when I said the government is not being proactive?
No, this is a completely different case. This is a completely different case.
That was our position, too.
Exactly.
That such persons should be arrested.
And paraded.
Yes.
Not just warning people, don't buy it or don't buy it. No, that's not good enough. But
and then, I mean, they call it a coronavirus vaccine.
Exactly.
And they say it has a yellow color. So it's like, some kind of drink, right? So do people drink vaccines?
No, they have to be arrested. It's not a joke.
Well,
really.
Look on the second lead of the Daily Independent. Buhari writes, Chief Justice of Nigeria wants speedy trials, the congestion of prisons. Yes, the Chief Justice of Nigeria has been very quiet. They've gone on holidays in the judiciary, but he has a job to do.
Where there are vacation judges.
Yes, but they can also help in the decongestion of the correctional facilities. And I think he should step forward and do the needful. And, well, the president has written to him, every arm of government should still have a function to play in bringing this coronavirus under control.
Before now, the federal government working in concert with the judiciary had already freed over 2,000 persons.
Yeah.
The elderly, the sick, persons awaiting trial, persons who are in prison for misdemeanors.
Persons due to leave in a few months.
And we have said at that time that the process should be sustained, because our prisons are heavily congested anyway. And the prisoners, I think in one prison in Kaduna, even protested that they should be released so that they don't have cases of coronavirus in the prison. So it should be a continuous process.
Well, if we just quickly look at one foreign newspaper, The Times of UK, British human vaccine trials to start tomorrow. We will throw in everything at it. Hancock vows as race for virus immunity steps up. Yes, that's a good one. That initiative by the Oxford University scientists is on. The British government is putting £22 million into that effort. Another effort at Imperial College, they are putting £25 million into that effort. So all hands on deck.
That is true.
Yes, to get
Professor Sarah Gilbert, the lead researcher, whom I quoted earlier, says that she's sure that by the time they try this, that it will be 80% effective. And that the United Kingdom may be the first country to find a cure.
It will take another 6 months for it to be available.
Yes, she says September, yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you very much,
Efeni.
Emmanuel Efeni.
See you tomorrow.